Smoke covered the sky like a blanket. The planet of Calora 9 was dying. The once beautiful green world had turned gray as enemy ships bombarded its surface. Buildings fell, oceans boiled, and screams filled the air. The alien citizens of Calora 9 ran for safety, while their military struggled to hold the line. They had called for help from nearby systems, but no one came. The Great Alliances ignored them. The invaders were too strong, and no one wanted to share their fate. Inside the central command dome, Commander Terran stood before the communications panel. His voice was tired, trembling, desperate. "Send the signal again," he said. "Please, someone must hear us." The technician nodded and activated the emergency beacon. A bright pulse of energy shot into space, spreading across the stars. It was their last hope, a simple message repeating over and over. "We are under attack. Please help us." Hours passed. The signal traveled through empty space unanswered. Terran stared at the silent screens, his hands shaking. "No one will come," he whispered. "We are alone." But then something strange happened. One of the old receivers on the far edge of their network came to life. Static filled the room. The technician adjusted the frequency, confused. Then a voice broke through the noise. Calm, deep, human. "Distress signal received. Assistance en route." Everyone froze. The air in the control room seemed to stop. The words repeated, this time clearer. "This is the Terran Alliance ship Valiant. Hold your position. Help is on the way." The crew looked at each other in disbelief. "Terran?" Someone whispered. "That can't be. Humans are gone. They vanished centuries ago." Terran stared at the message as if afraid it would disappear. "If it's real," he said softly, "then we might be saved." Moments later, the sensors began to flash. Massive energy readings appeared on the outer edges of the system. The operators gasped as the readings grew stronger, bigger than any fleet they had ever seen. "Commander," one of them shouted, "something huge is coming through hyperspace." The sky outside turned white. Then with a thunderous flash, the human armada arrived. The first ship broke through the clouds, larger than a city. Its hull was black with streaks of gold light running across it like veins of fire. Behind it, hundreds of ships followed, sleek, angular, and silent. They formed a perfect formation, spreading across the upper atmosphere. Every ship bore the same mark, a white insignia shaped like a burning planet, Earth's old symbol. The Deathworlders had returned. The alien soldiers on the ground stopped fighting. Even their enemies halted their assault, watching the impossible sight above. A transmission opened and a human face appeared on every screen. A middle-aged man with steel-gray eyes and a calm expression. "This is Commander Rains of the Terran Alliance," he said. "We received your distress call. Stand down and stay under cover. We'll handle this. No threats. No promises. Just quiet confidence." The alien commander could barely speak. You came for us?" The human replied simply, "We don't ignore cries for help." Above them, the human fleet began to move. Giant carriers opened their hangars, releasing hundreds of smaller ships that streaked down like burning stars. The sound of their engines rolled across the planet like thunder. The aliens looked up in awe as the sky filled with glowing trails of light. The humans were descending. When the first drop pods landed, the ground shook. From the dust stepped armored figures, tall, human, wrapped in gray combat suits glowing faintly blue at the joints. Their visors reflected the chaos around them, but their movements were calm, controlled. They carried weapons unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. The soldiers spread out quickly, covering civilians and pushing the enemy back. Commander Terran watched from the command dome feed as the humans fought. They didn't fight like others did. There was no panic, no fear, no shouting. Every move was precise. Every shot counted. The Deathworlders moved like they had done this 1,000 times before. The invaders fired back with heavy plasma weapons, but the human shields held firm. Within minutes, the humans had reclaimed an entire sector that had been lost for days. The aliens watching from shelters began to whisper. "They are real. The Deathworlders are real." Stories had once painted humans as monsters of strength and madness, survivors of a world where everything tried to kill them. Now those legends stood in front of them, saving their people without hesitation. Above the planet, the enemy fleet tried to regroup, preparing a massive counterattack. Their largest battleship, miles wide, charged its main cannon aimed directly at the colony below. The human fleet detected the energy spike instantly. "All capital ships," Commander Rains ordered, "intercept that beam." The Terran dreadnoughts moved in unison, forming a shield wall between the colony and the enemy ship. The next moment, a bright beam of plasma hit the human line. The explosion could be seen from the ground. The colony trembled. When the light faded, the humans were still there. Their shields flickered but held strong. A calm voice echoed across all frequencies. Planet secured. Civilians safe. Terran felt his knees weaken. They took the blast. For us, he whispered. His officers stared at the sky where the human ships glowed like suns. Then the humans returned fire, not to destroy but to end the battle quickly. Their precision strikes disabled the enemy fleet's engines and weapons within minutes. The enemy ships went dark one by one, drifting helplessly in orbit. The battle was over. The humans had won. On the surface, the air was quiet for the first time in weeks. The humans helped rebuild emergency shelters and provided food rations to the surviving aliens. They didn't ask for payment. They didn't even give orders. They just helped. When Commander Terran finally met Commander Rains face to face, he said only one thing. We called for help. And you answered. Rains gave a small smile. That's what we do. That night, the people of Colora 9 gathered outside, looking at the glowing human ships above their world. The children pointed at them with wide eyes. To them, the humans were no longer myths or monsters. They were something else entirely. Hope. And as the stars reflected off the metal of the human fleet, one truth settled deep in every heart. The Deathworlders had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The smoke above Colora 9 began to fade. The human fleet still hovered like silent guardians over the wounded world. Below, the survivors gathered in broken streets, staring at the sky filled with silver and blue warships that blocked out the sun. No one spoke at first. They didn't know if the humans would stay, or if they would leave as suddenly as they arrived. Commander Terran stood outside the command dome, his uniform torn and burned, his eyes fixed on the horizon. In the distance, he could see human dropships moving across the sky, flying low over destroyed cities. He had never seen machines move like that, fast, silent, and graceful, scanning every structure for survivors. Even their smallest drones carried lights so bright they cut through the rising smoke. The humans were searching for anyone left alive. One of his officers approached him. Commander, are they truly from Earth? Terran nodded slowly. Yes, the Deathworlders. The young officer swallowed hard. Then we must not disappoint them. Inside the Terran flagship Valiant, Commander Rains watched the live feed from orbit. His soldiers were securing evacuation zones and establishing temporary shelters for the aliens. He leaned against the console, studying the enemy's retreat patterns. They'll regroup, he said quietly. They always do. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Arya Vale, turned to him. Should we prepare another strike, sir? Rains shook his head. No, we didn't come here to conquer. We came to protect. On the ground, human soldiers in armored suits worked tirelessly. They moved rubble with their bare hands, lifted collapsed walls and treated injured civilians using portable medkits. The aliens watched in disbelief. These humans, once called monsters, were saving everyone without question. Their eyes glowed faintly through their golden visors, and their movements were so calm it felt like watching a dance. A small alien child tugged at a soldier's leg. Are you real? She asked in a trembling voice. The soldier knelt, his armor creaking softly. He removed his helmet, revealing a kind face marked by scars and exhaustion. Yes, he said with a smile. We're real. The child stared at him, then hugged him tightly. Around them, the silence broke into quiet sobs of relief. But peace never lasted long. Above the clouds, sensors began flashing red. The enemy fleet had regrouped at the edge of the system. This time, they were bringing something larger, a siege platform capable of destroying entire planets. In the command dome, alarms echoed. Commander Terran's voice shook. They're coming back. High above, Commander Rains looked at the incoming data. The readings were enormous. They're trying to finish the job, Arya said. Rains straightened. Then we finish ours. He opened a channel to all ships. Terran Armada, battle positions. Ground units, prepare for orbital defense. The quiet sky turned alive again. Human warships shifted in formation, blocking the orbital path of the enemy fleet. Engines roared, blue thrusters lighting up space like a second sunrise. From the ground, it looked like a moving wall of light. Even the aliens felt the vibration under their feet as the massive ships powered up their weapons. The enemy fleet entered orbit, confident in their numbers. Their command ship sent a message mocking. "You think you can stand against us, Deathworlders? We will erase your kind again." Rain's voice was calm when he replied, "We don't stand against you. We stand in front of them." The battle began with a flash so bright it blinded the skies. The humans moved like they had practiced this 1,000 times. Their ships worked in perfect rhythm, each protecting the other. When one ship took damage, another moved instantly to cover it. Massive plasma beams cut through space, tracing lines of fire across the darkness. The enemy's formation began to break apart. On the surface, the humans activated a planetary shield around the colony, a transparent dome that shimmered with golden light. The aliens gathered beneath it, watching in awe as debris from destroyed ships burned against the shield's edge. "They're holding the line," one alien whispered. "They're actually holding the line!" But the enemy's siege platform was still powering up. Its cannon glowed red, aimed directly at the human flagship. Inside the Valiant, warning lights filled the bridge. Arya turned to Rains. "That shot will vaporize half the fleet." Rains looked at her. "Then we make sure it never fires." He activated the command link to all ships. "All forward vessels, open a path for the Valiant. We're going in." The human flagship broke formation, engines flaring brighter than ever before. It flew straight toward the siege platform, weaving through enemy fire. Every impact rocked the hull, but the ship never slowed. In the colony below, everyone could see the bright streak cutting through the clouds, a line of light heading straight into danger. Commander Terran watched with his breath held. "What are they doing?" One of his aides whispered. "They're going to ram it." Rains stood at the front console, the enemy cannon now charging right before him. "Fire all plasma lances," he ordered. The Valiant unleashed a storm of light. The siege platform's shields began to crack, energy fields flickering out one by one. Then the human ship fired its final shot, a concentrated pulse from its main reactor. The blast tore through the platform, ripping it apart in a single blinding flash. The explosion shook the stars. When the light faded, the Valiant was gone. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the comms crackled. "This is the Valiant. Damage sustained, but we're still here." The bridge erupted in cheers. The alien survivors below cried out with joy. The humans had done it again. They had stood in the face of annihilation and refused to fall. When the battle finally ended, the remaining enemy ships fled into deep space. The human fleet didn't chase them. Instead, they focused on the wounded world below. Dropships descended once more, this time bringing supplies, engineers, and doctors. Commander Terran met Rains on the surface later that night. The human commander looked tired, his armor scorched, but his voice was steady. "You're safe now," he said simply. Terran bowed his head. "You didn't have to come." "Yet you did." Rains looked up at the stars. Someone has to answer when the galaxy forgets how. The alien soldiers who once thought themselves brave now stood humbled. They had seen the true meaning of courage, human courage. And as the dawn light touched the ruins of their world, they saw the human fleet still above, unmoving, protecting them. In that moment, Kalora 9 knew one truth. The Deathworlders had not come to conquer. They had come to remind the galaxy what it meant to stand together. The next morning came slowly to Kalora 9. The sky was still gray from drifting ash, but for the first time in weeks the air did not smell of burning metal. The human ships hovered above the clouds like silent guardians, their shadows moving slowly across the ruined cities below. Children ran out from shelters to watch the glowing shapes in the sky, pointing with small hands and bright eyes. Commander Terran stood on a high balcony of the rebuilt command dome. The sunlight reflected from pieces of shattered glass scattered on the floor. Around him, alien engineers worked beside human soldiers, building emergency power grids and supply zones. It was the first time Terran had ever seen two different species working as one. The humans did not talk much. They simply worked. Every motion was direct and calm. A human medic handed water to a wounded alien officer. "Drink slowly," she said softly. The alien blinked, surprised by the kindness. "We thought Deathworlders only knew war." The medic smiled faintly. "We learned long ago that fighting is useless if you forget who you fight for." Up in orbit, Commander Rains stood in the command bay of the Valiant. He watched Kalora 9 spin slowly beneath him, half lit by the new sunrise. "Status of the colony?" he asked. "Stabilizing," replied Lieutenant Arya Vale. The shields held through the night. No new threats detected. Rains nodded, but his eyes stayed on the horizon. They'll come again. They always do. As if his words had called it, a tremor shook the ship. Alarms flared across every screen. "Unidentified warp signatures, dozens of them," shouted the technician. Space around the planet began to twist and shimmer. The enemy had returned, larger and stronger. This time they were not alone. From the distortion emerged a massive black vessel, covered in strange runes and burning crimson light. It was not like the others. Its energy signature was unnatural, unstable. "What in the void is that?" Arya whispered. Rains narrowed his eyes. Something old. Something they shouldn't have found. The alien council received the warning seconds later. "Commander Terran," came Rains's voice through the comms. "Evacuate civilians underground. That ship carries a dark matter core. If it detonates, the planet won't survive." Terran froze. "But we don't have time." "Then make time," Rains said firmly. "We'll hold them." The human fleet spread into defensive formation. Smaller ships darted ahead, forming a barrier while the dreadnoughts charged their main cannons. The enemy fleet opened fire first, hundreds of beams of energy slicing through space. But the humans moved like a single living being, intercepting shots with coordinated counterfire. Explosions painted the void in white light. Rains leaned forward. "Focus on the core ship. If it reaches the atmosphere, millions die." The bridge crew worked quickly, targeting subsystems and weakening the ship's shields. But the enemy's power was unnatural. Their weapons pulsed with unstable energy. Each hit sent shockwaves through the Valiant. On the planet below, the people felt the sky rumble. "What's happening?" shouted a young engineer. Terran answered quietly. "They're fighting gods." The alien evacuation continued. Civilians poured into tunnels carved deep into the mountains. Human soldiers stayed on the surface, guiding them. One of them, a tall man named Lieutenant Hale, stood at the entrance of a shelter as an explosion rippled across the clouds. "Go!" he shouted, pushing the last group inside. A small alien child looked up at him, crying. "You'll come too, right?" Hale smiled behind his visor. "When the sky stops burning." Above them, the Valiant took a direct hit. The bridge lights flickered. Panels exploded in sparks. Arya caught herself on a railing. "Shields failing!" she cried. Rains didn't flinch. "Redirect all auxiliary power." "We don't break today." Outside, one of the human destroyers spun out of formation, engines ablaze. Its crew transmitted a final message. "Tell them Earth remembers." Then the ship rammed straight into the enemy carrier, detonating in a blinding flash. The impact ripped open the formation, giving the fleet a chance to strike back. Rains seized the moment. All ships full barrage. Now the sky turned white. The human fleet unleashed everything. Missiles, rail cannons, ion bursts, each hit tearing the enemy apart. Yet the dark core ship still advanced, its energy growing brighter, ready to explode. Arya looked at the readings. "It's overloading, sir. If it detonates now, we all burn." Rains stared at the display, silent for a moment. Then he said quietly, "Prepare the Valiant's reactor." Her eyes widened. We can," he said. "We hold the line, always." The Valiant turned toward the enemy ship, its engines burning blue-white. The plan was insane. Divert their own reactor's energy to contain the dark matter surge. It could destroy them. But if they failed, Calora 9 would be gone. From the ground, the people saw two lights colliding in the heavens, one red, one blue, spinning together like twin suns. The clouds split apart from the force. The humans pushed their ship to the limit, stabilizing the enemy core with raw energy. For a long, blinding moment, the sky became pure light, then silence. The red glow vanished. The dark core ship was gone, disintegrated into dust. The Valiant drifted in orbit, its hull cracked and smoking but still intact. The human fleet regrouped around it. Arya's voice came through the static, weak but steady. "Target neutralized. Planet secure." Cheers erupted across the colony. On the surface, Commander Terran looked up at the glowing wreck of the Valiant. He could see small repair drones already at work, patching the great ship's wounds. "They did it," he whispered. "They saved us again." Later that night, the survivors gathered near the ruins of the main city. Humans and aliens sat together beside fires made from broken beams of metal. A human soldier shared food packs with a group of alien engineers. "It tastes terrible," he warned, and the aliens laughed for the first time in months. Commander Rains broadcast a short message to the planet. His face appeared on every screen, his expression calm despite exhaustion. "We have faced the darkness and held the line," he said. "You are safe. The Deathworlders will remain until your world can stand again." The crowd watching broke into applause and tears. Many of them fell to their knees, whispering prayers not to gods but to the humans above. Far from the planet, the stars glowed brighter, as if the galaxy itself was watching. The story of Calora 9 would travel across the void, told and retold, that when the galaxy's hope burned out, the Deathworlders brought the light back, and in the quiet of his ship, Commander Rains closed his eyes. The war was far from over, but for now they had saved one more world. That was enough. The stars above Calora 9 were quiet again. The battle was over, but the air still trembled with the memory of what had happened. The human fleet floated in orbit, their hulls scarred and smoking, yet still strong. The people of Calora watched from the surface, whispering stories that would soon become legends. For the first time in generations, hope felt real. Commander Terran walked through the rebuilt streets of the colony. Broken towers still leaned like tired giants, but human engineers worked among them, turning ruins into shelters. Their machines hummed softly and their lights glowed like small suns against the ash. The humans didn't speak much. They worked quietly, every action precise, as if rebuilding worlds was something they had done many times before. He stopped to watch a group of children playing near a damaged transport. A human soldier sat nearby repairing a toy drone for them. The soldier's armor was scratched, his face tired, yet he smiled at the children as if none of the horrors of war had touched him. Terran's chest tightened. "They fight like gods," he whispered to himself, "and they heal like family." Up in orbit, Commander Rains sat alone in the dim bridge of the Valiant. The ship was half damaged, but the view outside was breathtaking. Calora shining below, wrapped in gold light from its repaired shield generators. Lieutenant Arya entered, carrying a report. "Repairs are steady, sir. Civilian casualties down by 70%. The colony will survive." Rains nodded slowly. "Good, that's what we came for." But she didn't leave. "There's something else," she said softly. "We intercepted a coded signal." Rains raised an eyebrow. "From who?" "Earth," she said. "Or what's left of it." He turned sharply. Earth hadn't transmitted in decades. The homeworld had gone silent long ago after humanity withdrew from the galactic stage. He played the message. The voice was faint, ancient, distorted. "This is Central Terran Command," it said. "Protocol 09 activated. The galaxy is not ready, but the Deathworlders must remember who they are." The bridge went quiet. Rains leaned back, lost in thought. "So it's true," he murmured. "They never abandoned us. They've been watching." On the surface, strange lights appeared in the night sky, not from the human fleet but from somewhere far beyond. Columns of faint blue energy flickered like beacons across the horizon. The alien scientists of Calora could not explain it. The humans, however, recognized it immediately. It was an activation sequence, a call. Rains contacted Terran through a secure line. "Commander, your planet triggered something ancient. Something connected to us." Terran frowned. "Connected to you? What do you mean?" "Before humanity left the galactic core, we placed relay stations across hundreds of systems," Rains explained. "They're part of the Deathworlder protocol. Whenever a world cries for help, we hear it." Terran stared out at the horizon where the blue lights pulsed in rhythm. "So our signal woke your kind." Rains nodded. "You didn't just call for help. You reawakened an old promise." That night, as darkness spread across the colony, the ground began to tremble. From deep beneath the mountains, an ancient structure rose slowly into the air. Dust fell from its massive sides as if it had been buried for centuries. The structure was a perfect circle of metal, glowing faintly blue, the same color as the human ships. The humans scanned it immediately. The readings shocked even them. It was Terran Arya's voice broke the silence on the bridge. "Sir, this thing, it's older than any of our archives. It shouldn't even exist." Rains watched the image with a strange calm. "It's a beacon. A reminder of what we were before the galaxy forgot." The aliens on the surface gathered around the structure in awe. The markings on its surface glowed brighter with every minute. Human soldiers formed a perimeter, not out of fear, but out of respect. This was no weapon. It was history. Then the beacon spoke. A soft hum echoed through every comm channel, every translator. It wasn't a voice, but it carried meaning. "To those who endure, humanity stands with you." The message repeated, spreading through the stars, reaching systems far beyond Calora 9. Rains watched it travel, his heart heavy. "Now they'll know," he said quietly. Arya looked at him. "Know what?" "That the Deathworlders never vanished. We just stopped waiting for permission to help." In the following days, the beacon signal spread across light years. Old Terran outposts that had been hidden in deep space began to awaken. Ships long lost powered up their engines again, responding to the ancient code. Across distant sectors, small colonies lit up, recognizing the signal as something older than memory, a call to rise. Meanwhile, on Calora 9, life began to return. Green sprouted from gray soil, water flowed again through shattered canals, and laughter replaced sirens. Human and alien engineers worked side by side, building new towers that reached toward the sky. Terran visited the beacon every morning. He often found human soldiers there too, standing quietly with heads bowed. Once he asked a young human officer why they honored it. The man smiled faintly. "Because it reminds us that no matter how far we go, we carry home with us." But peace was never meant to last. Reports came in from neighboring systems. Unknown fleets were moving, silent, fast, and armed. They weren't the same invaders as before. Something else had heard the beacon signal too. Rain stood on the bridge again, watching the data form on the screen. "They're coming," he said. "The galaxy remembers us now, and not everyone welcomes ghosts." Arya's hands tightened around the console. "Should we shut down the beacon?" Rains shook his head. "No, let them come. They'll see what Deathworlders stand for." Down on the planet, Terran looked up at the sky as the stars began to shift, streaks of movement appearing far away. "Will there ever be peace?" he asked softly. Beside him, a human officer answered without looking away from the stars. "Peace isn't given. It's built and protected." The beacon pulsed once more, brighter than before, its light reaching deep into the night sky. Above it, the Terran ships adjusted position, aligning perfectly around the planet like a shield. Calora 9 had become more than a colony now. It was a symbol, a promise carved into the heart of the galaxy. And far beyond the edges of known space, the old voice of humanity whispered once more through the stars. "Where there is darkness, we will bring light. Where there is silence, we will answer." The Deathworlders were no longer just a legend. They were a movement. The light of the Terran beacon reached across the stars, and with it came whispers. Some worlds saw it as hope. Others saw it as a threat. The galaxy was changing, and Calora 9 had become the center of something far larger than itself. Weeks had passed since the battle. The skies were calm again, but peace felt fragile. The human fleet still guarded the planet, their ships casting long shadows during daylight. Beneath that sky, humans and aliens worked side by side to rebuild. The colony looked alive once more, yet something unspoken hung between them. Fear. Commander Terran noticed it first. His people admired the humans, but they also feared their strength. Every story, every old legend about the Deathworlders came back to life. He heard whispers in the streets. What if they don't leave? What if they decide to rule? The same power that had saved them now made them uneasy. Inside the Terran flagship Valiant, Commander Rains listened to similar concerns from his crew. "Local broadcasts are spreading rumors, sir," said Lieutenant Arya Vale. "They think we're building control posts, not shelters." Rains sighed. "Typical. They see the sword, not the hand that carries it." Arya hesitated. "Maybe they're right to worry. They've seen what we can do." Rains looked at her calmly. "Then it's our job to remind them that our strength exists only to protect, never to dominate." On the surface, the beacon pulsed gently in the night. Scientists from across the sector had arrived to study it, each claiming a piece of history. For the first time, Calora's cities filled with travelers again. Politicians, traders, reporters. They wanted to see the humans, the Deathworlders, with their own eyes. At first, the visitors were polite, even curious. But soon old divisions began to grow. The Galactic Council, a loose alliance of dozens of species, sent a formal message to the Terran fleet. Their words were wrapped in diplomacy, but the meaning was sharp. Humanity's intervention, though heroic, has disrupted the balance of the outer systems. You are requested to withdraw immediately and deactivate all military installations. Rains read the message silently in the bridge chamber. Around him, the officers waited. Some were angry, others confused. "They fear what they don't understand," Rains said quietly. "And fear breeds mistakes." Arya frowned. Are we leaving then? He shook his head. Not while Kalora stands vulnerable. We came because they called. We stay until they can stand on their own. Word spread quickly. The council's message reached the people of Kalora, dividing them further. Some demanded the humans stay forever. Others begged them to go before more enemies came. The colony's streets filled with debate, then protests. Fights broke out. The light of the Terran beacon reached across the stars, and with it came whispers. Some worlds saw it as hope. Others saw it as a threat. The galaxy was changing, and Kalora 9 had become the center of something far larger than itself. Weeks had passed since the battle. The skies were calm again, but peace felt fragile. The human fleet still guarded the planet, their ships casting long shadows during daylight. Beneath that sky, humans and aliens worked side by side to rebuild. The colony looked alive once more, yet something unspoken hung between them. Fear. Commander Terran noticed it first. His people admired the humans, but they also feared their strength. Every story, every old legend about the Deathworlders came back to life. He heard whispers in the streets. What if they don't leave? What if they decide to rule? The same power that had saved them now made them uneasy. Inside the Terran flagship Valiant, Commander Rains listened to similar concerns from his crew. Local broadcasts are spreading rumors, sir, said Lieutenant Arya Vale. They think we're building control posts, not shelters. Rains sighed. Typical. They see the sword, not the hand that carries it. Arya hesitated. Maybe they're right to worry. They've seen what we can do. Rains looked at her calmly. Then it's our job to remind them that our strength exists only to protect, never to dominate. On the surface, the beacon pulsed gently in the night. Scientists from across the sector had arrived to study it, each claiming a piece of history. For the first time, Kalora's cities filled with travelers again. Politicians, traders, reporters. They wanted to see the humans, the Deathworlders, with their own eyes. At first, the visitors were polite, even curious. But soon, old divisions began to grow. The Galactic Council, a loose alliance of dozens of species, sent a formal message to the Terran fleet. Their words were wrapped in diplomacy, but the meaning was sharp. Humanity's intervention, though heroic, has disrupted the balance of the outer systems. You are requested to withdraw immediately and deactivate all military installations. Rains read the message silently in the bridge chamber. Around him, the officers waited. Some were angry, others confused. They fear what they don't understand, Rains said quietly. And fear breeds mistakes. Arya frowned. Are we leaving then? He shook his head. Not while Kalora stands vulnerable. We came because they called. We stay until they can stand on their own. Word spread quickly. The council's message reached the people of Kalora, dividing them further. Some demanded the humans stay forever. Others begged them to go before more enemies came. The colony streets filled with debate, then protests. Fights broke out. Terran stood before a crowd outside the main square. Humanity saved us, he shouted. They owe us nothing, but we owe them everything. Someone from the crowd yelled back. Then what happens when their fleet turns its guns our way? Terran's heart sank. The divide was real now. The same people who had prayed for rescue now argued about whether salvation was too dangerous. Meanwhile, high in orbit, new ships began to appear. Scouts from the Galactic Council, sent to observe the situation. They hovered at the edge of the system like vultures waiting for a weakness. Rains stood at the observation deck, watching the new arrivals. They're not here to help, he said softly. They're here to make sure we leave quietly. Arya nodded. If they force a confrontation, it could start another war. He didn't answer for a long time. Finally, he said, Then we'll do what humanity always does, hold the line but never start the fire. That night, a council envoy arrived on the Valiant. She was tall, her skin a pale silver color, her eyes sharp. Commander Rains, she began, her tone cold but polite. Your people have violated interstellar law. The council demands your withdrawal. Rains met her gaze. And if we refuse? Then we will consider your presence an occupation. He smiled faintly. Then you'll need more ships. The envoy left without another word. Later, Arya approached him in the dim corridor. Sir, we can't fight everyone. Even the Deathworlders have limits. Rains stared at the star map projected before them. Dozens of new red markers blinked. More council fleets gathering near Kalora's border. We're not here to fight, he said. But if they test us, they'll learn what survival on a death world really means. Down on the planet, Terran met with the human commanders. The city glowed softly behind them, lights reflecting off pools of rainwater. The council is trying to force you out, he said. They're claiming your presence breaks the peace. Rains gave a small nod. Peace built on silence isn't peace. We don't want control, Commander. We want stability. If we leave now, others will attack you again the moment we're gone. Terran looked down. My people are afraid. So are ours, Rains said gently. Fear doesn't disappear. You learn to live above it. As the days passed, tensions grew. The Council fleet sent drones to monitor the human armada. One of those drones crossed too close and was shot down by automated defenses. The Council called it an act of aggression. The galaxy began to hold its breath. That night, Arya found Rains on the observation deck again. It's spreading, sir. Every channel is saying the same thing. The Deathworlders are preparing for war. Rains looked tired. They want a story. Let them write one. The truth will outlast them. On the surface, Terran saw something different. He saw humans still working, repairing homes, teaching his people how to purify water, how to build stronger walls, how to fight smarter. He realized then that power wasn't what made the Deathworlders dangerous, it was their compassion. Compassion so strong that it frightened those who could never understand it. The following day, the Council sent an ultimatum. Withdraw within 48 hours or face blockade. Rains stood in the command bay, reading the message with steady eyes. Send this reply, he ordered. Humanity doesn't abandon those who call for help. Silence filled the bridge. No one spoke. Everyone knew what those words meant. At the same time, far beyond the system, something stirred. Other old Terran beacons had awakened across dozens of worlds. Their signals pulsed like heartbeats through the void. Each one said the same thing. We hear you. As the countdown to the Council's deadline began, new signatures appeared on long-range scanners. Massive ships, larger than anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. They were coming through hyperspace fast. Arya's voice trembled as she read the data. Sir, those aren't Council ships. Rains looked at the readings, then smiled faintly. No, they're ours. Dozens of Terran ships emerged from the dark, old, forgotten fleets returning to the light once more. The divide between fear and faith was about to break. The sky above Caloran 9 shimmered with light as the new Terran fleets broke through hyperspace. One after another, colossal ships appeared, their hulls reflecting the golden dawn. The clouds below rippled from the shockwaves of their arrival. For the people of Calora, it was like watching a second sunrise, only this one came with the promise of protection. Commander Terran stood on the balcony of the rebuilt dome, looking up as each ship appeared. His heart raced with awe and fear. How many ships does humanity have? He whispered. Beside him, a human officer smiled faintly. Enough to remind the galaxy why we're called Deathworlders. Above them, the Valiant stood at the center of the formation, its damaged hull repaired with shining alloy. Commander Rains looked at the growing radar display, thousands of green dots filling the screen. Terran beacons across the stars had awakened, calling every surviving fleet, every hidden outpost, every forgotten colony. Humanity had answered. Lieutenant Arya Vale watched the readings with disbelief. Sir, these ships, they're from across the old sectors. Some of these call signs date back 200 years. Rains nodded. We built our strength quietly. The galaxy thought we vanished. But we were preparing and waiting for a reason to return. She turned toward him. And Calora 9 became that reason. He smiled softly. No, hope became that reason. The Galactic Council fleets arrived shortly after. Sleek silver ships filled the outer orbit, forming a ring around the human armada. The Council sent one last message. Withdraw or be removed by force. Rains read the transmission and then turned off the screen. They don't understand, he said calmly. This isn't a war. It's a reckoning. On the planet below, people gathered in the open fields, watching the starlit sky where thousands of ships hovered. The ground hummed from the energy above. Parents held their children close, unsure whether they were witnessing the beginning of salvation or destruction. In the Council's flagship, Ambassador Tal of the Sereth Empire paced nervously. They brought too many ships, she muttered. This is not a negotiation, it's a show of dominance. Her aide frowned. Then why haven't they fired? Tal stopped walking. Because they're human, she said quietly. They want us to decide what kind of beings we are before they do. Back on the Valiant, the Terran Command Center was alive with quiet movement. Officers coordinated positions, medics prepared emergency teams, and communications carried messages of unity between hundreds of ships. Rains stood in the center, calm as ever. Broadcast open to all channels, he ordered. A holographic projection of his face appeared across both fleets, even on civilian channels. This is Commander Rains of the Terran Alliance, he began. His voice was steady, strong. To those who fear us, we did not return to rule. To those who doubt us, we did not come for power. We came because a world cried for help and the galaxy stayed silent. His words carried through every ship, every station, every heart. If that silence continues, then humanity will break it. Not with war, but with will. Not with conquest, but with compassion. We are Deathworlders. Not because we destroy, but because we endure. On the surface, the aliens listened, some with tears in their eyes. Even those who had doubted the humans now felt a pull deep within them. The Council fleets responded by forming attack lines. Their commanders were not united. Some wanted to stand down, others to fight. It was chaos. Then one nervous captain fired first, a single plasma shot toward the Terran perimeter. The shot struck one of the human frigates. The hull cracked but did not explode. For a moment, everything froze. Then Commander Rains spoke again, voice colder now. Terran fleet, defensive mode only. Disable, don't destroy. The human armada moved like lightning. Beams of blue energy cut through the void, disabling enemy weapons and engines with surgical precision. Within minutes, half of the Council fleet was immobilized, floating harmlessly in orbit. Not a single human shot had been meant to kill. On the ground, Commander Terran watched in awe. They're not even fighting to win. They're showing control. The human officer beside him nodded. Power means nothing if it's not guided by purpose. In the Council flagship, Ambassador Tal realized the truth. They could have ended us all, she whispered. Instead, they're teaching us. The battle, if it could even be called that, ended as quickly as it began. The Council ships drifted, powerless, while the Terran fleet remained untouched. Rains opened a channel again, his voice echoing through the silence. Let this end now. The galaxy doesn't need new rulers. It needs new guardians. He turned to his crew. Transmit the beacon signal to every system in Council space. No encryption. Arya hesitated. You're sharing it with them? Yes, Rains said. If we hold it, we become what they fear. If we share it, we become what they need. The Terran beacon pulsed brighter, its light spreading through the stars once again. Messages began to appear across the galaxy. Colonies reporting distress, planets asking for aid, voices long ignored crying out once more. And this time the galaxy responded, not with silence but with unity. Some Council ships powered down their weapons and joined formation beside the humans. Others sent messages of truce. Slowly the tension began to melt. The reckoning wasn't about war. It was about awakening. On Kalora 9, people gathered in the central plaza. The beacon glowed so brightly it bathed the city in gold light. Commander Terran stood among his people as the human commander's words replayed through the speakers. We are Deathworlders, not because we destroy, but because we endure. A child beside him looked up at the sky and asked, Commander, are they going to stay forever? Terran smiled softly. No, child. They'll leave when we can protect ourselves. That's what Guardians do. In orbit, the human fleet began to realign. Repairs were complete, and the Valiant's engines hummed with new strength. Arya turned to Rains. So what now? Rains looked out at the stars where new signals shimmered like distant fires. Now, he said, we rebuild what fear broke. And then we keep moving, wherever a voice still calls for help. As the Valiant slowly turned away from Kalora 9, thousands of ships followed, forming a river of light stretching across the void. The people below watched them go, their hearts full. The humans had come like storms, fought like legends, and left like guardians. The beacon's light continued to pulse in the sky, a promise written in fire. When darkness comes again, the Deathworlders will return.